Hey, how's it going, do-it-yourselfers? Today we're going to talk about salvage vehicles. Are they good or bad? Should you consider buying one or should you completely stay away? Today we shall find out. Now, as some of you may know, I already own a salvage vehicle, which is a 2001 Audi A6 with a 2.7 liter bi-turbo engine, of which actually there will be an update on how the repair process is going towards the end of this video. But before you click away and assume that buying a salvage vehicle is okay since the guy making this video already owns one, I suggest you stay tuned because the answer is more complicated and in so many words, it depends. Now, before we go any further, I think it's important that you understand how a vehicle can come to have a salvage title. So let's say vehicle A is involved in a crash, or maybe it's in a flood or some other natural disaster that causes damage to the vehicle. The owner of this car has full coverage and files a claim with their insurance company, or if it was involved in a crash and it was the fault of the other driver, they file a claim with the other driver's insurance company. Then the insurance company will either send someone out to check out the vehicle and assess the damage, or have you send the vehicle to a repair shop in order to get an estimate for how much it's going to cost to bring that vehicle back to factory specifications and repair everything. Now, if the cost of the repair is about 50 to 70% of the market value of the vehicle, then the insurance company is more than likely to simply declare that car salvage, sell the car at auction, and try to recuperate some of its money. All right, so let me give you an example. Let's say vehicle A has a market value of $10,000. The owner is involved in a crash, files a claim with their insurance company. The insurance company takes the car to the repair shop, gets an estimate for, let's say, $6,000 to repair the whole thing. Now, at $6,000, that's about 60% of what the car is worth. Now, the insurance company has two choices: either pay the $6,000 to have the car repaired, or pay the owner $10,000, take possession of the vehicle, and sell it at an auction with a salvage title. Now, these insurance companies have a lot of experience and know exactly how much they can get for each vehicle at different auctions, even with the salvage title. And a lot of times they can get anywhere from 10% up to 60% of the market value of the vehicle based on the year, make, and model of that vehicle, obviously. Now, should you or should you not buy salvage vehicles? Now, again, this is complicated. We're gonna split this into two categories. Category number one, if you are looking for a cheap car to drive around town in, get from point A to point B, at the same time you don't care about the looks of the vehicle, and you don't care about the resale value of the car, since if you're buying an older salvage car, reselling that is going to be very hard. You simply are interested in driving that car until it dies and getting rid of it. So for example, let's say you want to buy a 2003 Ford Focus at salvage. Now, you can get a really good deal on a salvage 2003 Ford Focus, but you have to either buy it from the auction, and when you buy it from the auction that's declared salvage, you have to know that it's actually being sold by the insurance company. It's not being sold by another dealer that happened to have a 2003 salvage Ford Focus that's selling it through the auction. You have to know you're buying directly from the insurance company that has declared that vehicle salvage. Because 2003 Ford Focus, let's say it's involved in a fender bender, it's got deep scratches in the front bumper, it's got a broken headlight and scratches on the fender and maybe even the door. Now, if the insurance company were to repair that at a repair shop, it would cost maybe double what that vehicle is worth, so they're just going to simply write that off as salvage, sell it at an auction. That's where you come in. You don't care about the looks of the vehicle, you replace the headlight, you don't care about the scratches, it's got low miles if you're lucky, you can drive that for a few years and pay maybe half the price of the car if you were to buy it with a clear title. Now, the second category of vehicles, which in my opinion qualify for being able to be bought at auction, are either niche vehicles, vehicles that are somewhat hard to find, or vehicles that are special to you personally. Let's say you want a G37, you've been looking for one forever, it costs too much to buy it with a clear title, then you might be able to look for one with a salvage title. Since you love that car, you're going to keep it forever. Or in my case, it happened to be what I would assume, or what I would call a niche vehicle, which was the Audi A6 with a bi-turbo engine. Some of you may know Audi A6s come with the naturally aspirated engine. Usually the turbo engine is on the S4s, and even fewer Audi A6s come with the manual transmission with the turbo engine. So when I saw this car with both the turbo and the manual transmission, I had to jump on it. I was willing to pay up to $1,500, maybe even $1,700 for it. I got lucky and I got it for $588, even with the damage, because it was worth it to me personally. So yeah, overall, I don't recommend you buying a salvage car if you're a novice. If you don't know how to do any body repairs, you don't know how to spray paint, you don't know how to do any mechanical repairs, And I would recommend it even less if you are a novice at auctions. Maybe you've never been to an auction. That's definitely a no-no. You should not even think about buying a salvage vehicle at an auction, or simply buying any car at an auction.
What is he saying?
But we'll save that for a different video. But again, back to the Audi A6, if you're wondering how that's coming along. Well, it's ready, and by ready, I mean it's all painted and roadworthy. I've actually been driving it for about 70 miles and have had no issues. No check engine light, no weird noises, no engine troubles, nothing. Now, as far as how the paint job went, well, it went pretty well. As you may remember, I replaced the hood, the front bumper cover, and the left fender. So I painted these 3 panels, also blended in to the door right here. And if I get you a close-up, you can see that you cannot tell where it was blended into and that the color matches throughout. However, if I get you real close, you can see that we have a lot of orange peel. This is the driver door, and when we go to the next door that we have not painted, you can see what the difference is, and that we do indeed have orange peel. And as you may be able to tell, it's actually much worse on the hood. But that was to be expected, because after all, I only use spray cans to paint this car. And all it takes to get rid of orange peel, it's some wet sanding and polishing. So not too worried about that. However, I do have to wait for this clear coat to cure properly before I can wet sand and polish it, because otherwise I might burn right through it and be back to square one as far as painting goes. So this car is gonna sit out under the sun for another week before I get to wet sand and polish it. All right, so if you're disappointed that there was not a step-by-step video on spray painting and repairing this car, don't be disappointed too much, because here's a summary. So basically I removed the hood, the driver's side fender, and the bumper cover off the old parts car I have in the driveway, put the hood and the fender on the new car, spent some time adjusting it, making sure the gaps between the hood and the fender matched, and also the gap between the fender and the driver's side door as well. Then I proceeded to scratch down some areas that had some minor dings on the hood and on the fender with 80 grit. Then I applied body filler to those areas, sanded them flat. The entire hood I did use 220 grit sandpaper to scratch down. Then I applied filler primer to the entire hood, and I sanded down around the areas on the fender that had body filler and applied 2K primer over those areas as well. And I sanded down the rest of the fender with 500 grit sandpaper, the areas that did not get scratched with 80 grit sandpaper, that is. And then since I was going to blend the base coat into the driver's side door, I also sanded the entire driver's side door with 1500 grit sandpaper. Now on the front plastic bumper cover, there were also some minor dings that I tried to strain it out with a heat gun. After I got them as strained out as I could with a heat gun, I scratched them down and then applied some filler made specifically for plastic bumper covers. Then I sanded down the entire panel with 220 grit and applied epoxy primer to the plastic bumper cover. Then over the epoxy primer, I applied 2K filler primer as well. Then from there, I sanded down the 2K primer on the bumper cover with 500 grit sandpaper. I did the same thing on the hood and on the fender in the areas that had primer on it. And after that, it was pretty straightforward. I applied 4 coats of base coat to each panel, and I also blended in the base coat from the driver's side fender into the driver's side door. It came out pretty good. Waited about an hour, and I applied about 3 coats of clear coat to each panel, and that was it. Now I'm just gonna wait a few days to a week, then wet sand, buff, and polish the paint on this car, make it look real shiny and nice. And I'm positive by the time I'm done with it, I can make it look like as if it was done at a shop using a air compressor, a high volume, low pressure spray gun, and all that good stuff. Now obviously this video is not a how-to on how you can respray your gun, although I put links to the materials I use while doing this job in the description box, including the link to a 2K epoxy primer, 2K filler primer, the 2K clear coat. So yeah, links in the description box. You can click on them and check them out for yourself. But if you're also looking for a more detailed and longer video on how you can actually do this job from start to finish, I'll put a link to that along with links to other related videos on this side of the screen that you can click on, and again, link to them in the description box down below as well. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.